Welcome. This is the Drupal usability meeting for May 28th, 2021. I'm Benji Fisher moderating. Paolo Enrique Starling is sharing his screen and will present an issue. And also on the call are Anmol Goel, Gaurav Malawat, Emily Nouveau, and Aaron McHale. Thank you all for coming. And we have the usual diverse mix of backgrounds, some back-end developers, front-end developers, designers, and that diversity is what makes these meetings useful. Paolo, go ahead.
So, hello everyone. I opened this issue because I was using for the first time this feature, the convert effect that's provided by Drupal core. And when I opened this page, I read this title. It's the plugin label, converts an image between extension, and for example PNG to this extension. So first I thought it would be able to choose, for example, I only want to convert PNG to this format, but then it's displayed only one field. So I think if it's added a description to this field, it would be better to understand. So I created this issue, and I also created a patch to add this description to the field. So that's it. Do I have to say anything more, or is that enough?
Can you show us an example of what it looks like when the patch is applied?
Okay, I hope someone has. It looks like that.
I think we can change files to image in the description.
Can you repeat, please?
We can change the keyword files to images or image.
Yeah.
I'm still having trouble hearing you, Anmol. You can change what word?
In the description, it is mentioned that select the extension type that the files will be converted to. Instead of files, we can use the word images or image.
Okay. Okay. But do you agree that we should have a description to this field?
Yes, I agree.
I think that's helpful. The dangling participle bothers me. Benji, do you have any suggestions for how to rearrange the sentence to avoid the dangling participle?
That's a little tricky. The grammatical point is that in English sentences aren't supposed to end with the word to. That's the participle that Thomas is referring to.
It's minor, but it is awkward.
No problem. The sentence you can choose. I'm not an English native, so I just
absolutely totally understood. It's a very minor thing, and I'm really not. My English grammar skills are pretty bad. I just know it's not. It's something we're supposed to avoid.
No problem.
So
go ahead.
I was going to say, well, I suppose while Thomas and Benji mull on that, I was wondering if you could maybe just show us what, because I personally haven't used this particular feature or used this screen. So I just wondered if you could go back to your live site and just if you open the drop down just to see so I can see what's in there. Okay, so you can select the different image types. So this would be when you upload an image, you're going to say, is that like it's going to convert it to one of those types? So like if you select PNG, it will convert all images to PNG. Is that what this is doing?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, I see.
And it converts all types of images to this extension, to one of those extensions.
Yes. I agree with the earlier point about changing it types to images, because that's a bit more sort of sorry, changing files to images, because that's a bit more like relevant to what we're doing here in the description.
It's also more consistent with the text that's already there, converts an image between extensions.
Yeah.
The usual suggestion before adding description text or help text is whether we could simply make the label more descriptive. Because just extension is sort of the problem here. Is that the extension of the source image or the destination image? Well, it's the extension of the destination image. So maybe the label could be changed to make that clearer. So if instead of extension and then select list, it said convert to, and then the select list. Would that be clear enough, or would you still need further description text?
Or we can change it to like select new format and then drop down. Yes.
And Mo, you have to speak louder.
We can also change the like label from extension to select new format.
Do you mean this label or the field description?
The label extension.
Okay, a couple of things in chat. And Anmol just typed out to clarify his suggestion. Instead of the label extension, he suggests select new format. My suggestion was instead of extension, say convert to. And another comment in the chat, Emily suggested a way to rewrite the current description text to make it grammatically correct. So one option is select the file type to which the files should be converted. And that has the advantage of being grammatically correct and the disadvantage of being a couple of words longer.
I guess given the screen is not, this is one of those forms that is very small. Something, I get the feeling it might be useful to be explicit about what happens here. Bearing in mind, I haven't needed to use this myself, so I don't have any practical experience with this, but I'm wondering if the sort of changing the label, but also adding the description text would be useful, or if that would be so doing two things, or if that would be too much.
Anmol's suggestion seems pretty tight and correct. Select the target image format.
Paolo, do you think you could just use your browser tools to edit the text and instead of making it extension, make it select new format?
With or without the example?
I'm sorry?
Should we keep the example that had in the label or not? Like it was like AG.
I suspect that some of your confusion arose because it implied that you would first pick your source format and then pick your, like the way that example is written could lead someone to think that they needed to first pick PNG and then pick JPEG, but you're only ever picking JPEG.
Yes, that, oops, that this was one of my confusion.
I think rather than doing PNG to JPEG, you could do example JPEG or example to JPEG. You could, you don't need, by avoiding having PNG there, you're making it more explicit.
I agree.
I think changing the, so I like the suggestion from Amol in the chat of just select new format for the field label. So changing extension to select new format.
Yeah, you mean the plugin label, né?
Yes. Because I think I know, I think I'm realizing what extension is supposed to mean. I think it actually means like the file extension, but it's the
Yes.
least helpful way of phrasing that because you're not thinking as much about file extensions here. I guess you are, but you're not.
This looks good as well, but I don't see any problem to add the example here as well.
You could add the example. You could also change extension to be file extension type or just file. I mean, then it may be getting too long. But if you just modified that as well, that might address Aaron's concern. Just call it file extension. Extension by itself could mean many things, but you can say image or file extension, and that would explicitly, can we change that?
Yeah, you should be able to.
So it would be under the content region. You're still looking at the help region there in your browser tools.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
You mean the field label, né?
Yeah.
I think it's better if I do that. Should I write file extension?
I think that it is a file extension. It is an image type of file extension, but yeah, file extension should be explicit enough.
Yeah, because everything in there is a file extension. I'm just wondering if there's a situation where you could have a plugin that I'm just thinking, so like file extensions are more container formats rather than what the actual underlying like encoding of the images, at least in terms of video files, right? So like in a video file, an MP4 is just the container format. The actual video is encoded in maybe H.264 or H.265. So I'm just wondering if there's a situation where what's in that list might actually not be a file type. It might be like a type of like the file type might be irrelevant. Does that make sense? Like it might be some kind of like raw image format that for some reason you would want to convert to. I don't know why you'd want to convert to raw, but just for argument's sake.
I think you're getting too technical here, Aaron. I think.
Am I going too far down the rabbit hole?
I think so. I for one,
okay.
Don't worry too much about whether JPEG is a format or a container.
Okay, that's fair. I'm probably thinking too deeply into this there.
Do we want to have the example or do we not want to have the example?
So what was the original text actually on that? The original help text there, because it
was like that.
Oh, okay.
And we had suggested switching it to example from or to JPEG.
So yeah, I like the convert an image between extensions and then example to, as you said, example to, like just example to JPEG, and then we changed extension to file extension. I think I quite like that.
Yeah, I'm going to give my opinion. I think converts an image between extension is okay. Maybe we could change the example to this extension. And
Yeah.
actually, I thought I know that the form is small, but I don't see any problem to add a description to the field. But that's only my opinion, you know.
I think if we've already got help text on the screen, like this form is essentially a form with one field on it. So I think if we've already got help text, it doesn't really, like if we're going to add more text, why not just put it in the help text, you know?
I think sort of logically, the text that's already there is the description of the image effect. It is logically distinct from the form, and as Paolo was looking at it in his browser tools, you in fact saw that it's a different region of the page from the form. And maybe I'm now the one who's being too technical, but on the other hand, also consider someone using a screen reader. The fact that that text is in the help region might be more significant to them. Whereas when we're looking at it, the fact that it's visually close makes it seem perhaps irrelevant that it's part of the help region. But there is this logical distinction which maybe we should preserve between the text that describes the image effect and the text that describes the form element.
Yes. Because I think, and now this might not be one of those forms, but of course, a lot of plugins define configuration forms, so could very well be that you select a plugin where it adds more fields to this form.
Yes, and if you did that, then you would want to maintain the distinction between the help text or the image effect as a whole and the text that applies to the form. So I'm a little disappointed that, that no one liked my suggestion, but it seems to me that the confusion here is that what you're selecting is the target format, and you never have an option to choose the source format. So I still think that convert to and then the select list is the simplest solution. Although if people really don't like that suggestion, then I think help text underneath is probably the clearest, because whether you call it extension or format or file extension, it seems to me that the main confusion is whether this is source or destination. And so you should add some text saying that this is the target format.
Yeah, the main problem, in my opinion, so that's why I opened the issue, is the field. What does it mean? So I agree with you when you say that this is the problem, and I agree that removing PNG from the example is also a good solution, because when I opened the page, I was like, okay, is this the source or the how can I say that?
Target?
The target.
Yeah, I like what you just said, Benji. Actually, convert to is like really explicit in only 2 words. It's very short, but also really clear as to what you're doing with this here.
And you mean
if you shorten that, you have to extend, you definitely have to add a sentence beneath it though, that gives more context. Because
Yeah,
it may seem reasonable to assume people understand it's an image, but by removing like convert to, it may still be awkward, at least out of
We're-
context the way I look at it now.
We're not suggesting shortening the description text of the image effect. We're suggesting changing the label of the form element, and instead of saying extension, saying convert to.
Oh, got it. I thought you were changing the sentence above to convert to and dropping all the words.
No.
So rather than file extension, you're just saying convert to. Okay, yeah, that I can agree with. That makes sense rather than file extension.
Because it also reads better. Like if you when you drop down that list and say you select PNG, like if you just select PNG right now, if that says convert to PNG, like that just reads very cleanly.
And technically, this is auto-detecting whatever the file origin type is. There are no limitations on what files it can convert. That, in my mind, that's the first thing that popped out, is like, this doesn't indicate, and I realize I'm now getting farther afield, but if we're trying to correct what's occurring here, can it take any file type and convert it to PNG, or is it a list of file types that can convert to PNG?
There are limits, but you don't have any control over them here. That depends on what your image toolkit can handle. Typically GD or ImageMagick. I guess there are other options.
Right, and so there's no way for Drupal to know which limitations it's going to labor under, because it doesn't necessarily know which conversion tool or library you're using, correct?
Well,
Exactly.
It might be, I mean, Drupal might be doing something because we are under the image styles section of media here. So like maybe it knows something about what's an image file format, I would assume.
But in any case, like I don't want to bike shed on that. I think these are improvements. So yeah.
Okay, so did we want to bring back the example in the help text, or did we want to add a description below the field? Because now we've got just select the target image format, convert to PNG. Do we need anything more there? Oh, actually,
again, select the target image format is in the help region. I would suggest not changing what's currently there. Perhaps removing the from PNG. But otherwise leaving it as is, and just changing,
Now, do we have? Oh,
sorry, but do you mean like this?
Yes, that's my
yeah. Do we have a style guide around whether we should say e.g. or for example? I feel like it should be for example, but I don't remember or know.
If you have what?
Can we get basically the words there, e.g. that's shortened for example? Is that like, are we allowed to do that, or should that be explicitly say for example? I'm just thinking in terms of our sort of accessibility and style guides.
I don't know the answer, so.
So let's look that up after the meeting, unless someone has a link handy. So does anyone want to say anything more on this issue? You're even allowed to disagree with what Aaron and I have been pushing on you. We are not the ultimate authorities.
I want to say one point. So this the description above the select box converts an image between extension. So this between extension is a little bit is not going with the process we over have. So I think it between extension it means from and to.
So you don't like removing the from PNG.
That is fine. I think we need to rephrase this sentence as well. This between keyword is not, I think we have to change this as well.
Converts an image to a format, to another format.
To another, yeah,
to another format, yes.
The only challenge is now we're going to have the word to 3 times in a very small number of words. I mean, it is still doing a conversion between extensions. I mean, between means from A to B. I can see the mismatch. I mean, it may just make more sense to remove the example in that situation. This converts an image between extensions, no example, convert to JPEG. That means you don't have the mismatch between just the target and the word between, because the action is still going between. That's not changing, but the example is creating cognitive dissonance for you. So I can see how that's not working. Any other thoughts?
We could also get rid of the second to if we rephrase that, couldn't we? Like converts an image to a different format, for example, JPEG. Like you don't need the second to in there, right?
That's true. Because you're saying it converts an image to an extension, example JPEG. Yes, that would solve the problem. So change the word between to the word to, and then subtract to from the example to JPEG if you want to modify it.
Converts an image to another
I don't even know if you
extensions.
need another. You can say to an extension. It can just be an.
Oh,
Maybe
in
there's
singular, I guess, to an extension without the plural in the end.
And you don't have to call it extension anymore. You could actually call it type.
Yeah.
Or format.
To a format.
Mhm.
And then that change and to converts an image to a format, example JPEG, convert to JPEG. That sounds less awkward.
So Benji helpfully found the interface text standards, and I think I highlighted the right one, which says do not use, well, it's basically saying don't use things like you've, can't, and shouldn't, saying you should use like the full words. So I guess that would apply to e.g. we should say for example.
In place of e.g.
Okay. Yeah, so we should spell out for example JPEG.
Well, it says do not use contractions. It does not say do not use abbreviations.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I do feel more comfortable if we just said for example, though, to be fair.
Okay.
I have to agree that when I read those things in English, I almost always have to search on Google what it means. Now I know what this means, but because I search it a lot.
E.g. is not a common, like I normally say E period, X period. So E.g. is kind of old school.
Yeah.
And it's not English, it's Latin. And so many
Yes.
people get EG and IE confused.
What is the difference actually, now that you mention it?
EG is,
Because
for example, IE is that is, it est.
and how would one use it appropriately?
I like EX period. Thank you very much.
So
Well, if you're going to
it-
spell it out, then perhaps such as JPEG rather than, for example, JPEG.
Oh, yes, I like that. Okay.
So if you don't mind modifying EG to such as 2 words, no periods.
Yeah, I like such as. That's nice.
For example, such as is a superior phrase.
Okay, I think we're getting a little bit silly, which means maybe it's time to wrap up this issue. So Paolo, are you clear on what the final suggestion is?
yes, I think it's better.
I forget at the start, did you remember to read the issue number?
Oh, sorry. The issue number is 3216106.
Okay. And since the last time I looked, a few more people have joined the meeting. So welcome, Antonia and Ofer. And I think also, Thomas, you've been speaking a lot, but I don't think I mentioned you by name. Thomas.
Sorry, I snuck in at 3 minutes after.
Right. So I think we're done with this issue. Does anyone have another issue they would like to bring up? Okay. In that case, I guess we'll call the meeting over. And actually very few of you are in the US. I know I have a long weekend coming up, and if I were talking to other people in the US, I would wish you a happy long weekend. But anyway, we'll be back again in a week, and hope that many of you will be able to make it then.
Happy long weekend, Benji.
Thank you.
Happy long weekend, and thanks everyone.
Happy long weekend.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.